The dense hum of the training facility vibrated through Cadet Alex Winter's chest as he stood in line. His eyes narrowed and hands clenched into fists. It wasn't the usual nervous energy of someone about to face a test. No, this was something different. The air was thick with the tension of something far more daunting, something that had the power to shape his entire future. The vast hall was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from a series of towering holographic projectors that cast an eerie glow on the walls. The Galactic Military Academy was no ordinary institution. While most academies were focused on training recruits to follow orders and master their trade, this place was designed to push the limits of strength, intellect, and willpower. Alex had been accepted into this prestigious academy for one reason. He was human, and the galaxy wanted to see just how far humanity could be pushed. Alex was one of the first humans to join the Galactic Military Academy, a place where every race in the universe came to prove their supremacy. The competition was fierce. From the towering Drakthar warriors with their scales of iron to the enigmatic, lithe Zrithians with their ability to manipulate time in small bursts, every species that had come before Alex had proved themselves as formidable. Yet humanity? Humanity was untested. It had taken years for Earth to join the galactic community. Centuries, even. They'd spent time learning the customs, navigating the politics, and dealing with the threats that came with living in a galaxy filled with civilizations that were far more advanced than they could have ever imagined. Now, as the youngest recruit in this elite academy, Alex was a symbol of both humanity's potential and their fragility. His first day had been a blur of strange faces, untranslatable languages, and the oppressive weight of countless eyes watching every movement. Now, months into his training, he had earned his place among the other cadets. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy wasn't quite ready to accept humanity into its fold. He had fought tooth and nail to prove that his species was capable of standing alongside the galaxy's greatest. But the journey had only just begun. In front of him stood General Korik, a towering alien whose presence filled the room with an almost suffocating gravity. The general's broad shoulders and deep-set crimson eyes were the mark of the Thraxi, a warlike race known for their ruthlessness and pride. They stood at the top of the hierarchy in the galactic military, a species that dominated with a brutal, unyielding force. They were also the ones who had mocked humanity's entry into the military ranks, calling Alex's very presence in the academy a joke. Korik had always been a thorn in Alex's side. From the moment they'd crossed paths, the general had made it clear that he saw Alex as nothing more than a fragile creature with delusions of grandeur. To Korik, humans were weak, unworthy of being among the galactic elites. It was a sentiment that had been echoed by more than one species. Yet Alex had endured the whispers, the ridicule, and the challenges. It was the only way he knew how to survive in a galaxy that had no patience for weakness. But today would be different. Alex's heartbeat quickened as he noticed Korik's eyes settle on him, a sneer playing at the corners of his mouth. The general had called him out for a duel. Not a training exercise, not a sparring match, but a full-fledged combat scenario to demonstrate once and for all that humanity had no place on this field. Alex's hands twitched to the sides. He'd been preparing for this moment. He knew that defeating Korik wouldn't be easy. The Thraxi general was a seasoned warrior, one of the best the galaxy had to offer. His physical strength alone was enough to crush most cadets. But Alex wasn't just a cadet. He was human. And if humanity had proven anything so far, it was that they never gave up, no matter the odds. A murmur passed through the cadets who had gathered to witness the confrontation. The air seemed to buzz with anticipation. Everyone knew the stakes. A victory would solidify Alex's place among the stars as a representative of humanity's potential. A defeat would send the message that humanity had no place here, that they were nothing more than a passing curiosity. The tension in the room was palpable, but Alex didn't let it show. He had prepared for this day, honed his skills with the precision of someone who had learned not just to survive, but to thrive. Humanity's resilience, their creativity, and their sheer will to endure were things that couldn't be measured by the standards of alien races. If there was one thing that set them apart, it was their refusal to back down. Cadet Winters, Korik's voice boomed, deep and mocking. I hope you're ready to prove the worth of your species. You've wasted enough of my time. Alex squared his shoulders, taking a deep breath as he stepped forward, the faint sound of his boots hitting the floor the only thing that seemed to break the silence. His gaze locked with Korik's, his determination shining through. It wasn't just about the duel anymore. This was about showing the galaxy that humanity could stand on its own. I'm ready, Alex said, his voice steady and unwavering. The general's lips curled into a grin. We'll see. The arena was set. It was a simple, open space with high walls designed for minimal interference, but no lack of intimidation. The cadets watched eagerly, their voices hushed in awe. No one could have known how this would end, not even Alex. The moment the signal was given, everything changed. Korik lunged forward with the speed of a predator, his massive fists swinging with lethal intent. Alex was ready. He sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the crushing blow. His muscles screamed in protest as he reacted with quick, fluid movements, trying to stay just one step ahead. But Korik was relentless. His strikes were brutal, calculated, and each one made the ground tremble beneath their feet. Alex's mind raced, searching for a way to turn the tide. He was outmatched in raw strength, but that wasn't all that mattered. He had something that Korik didn't: the unpredictable nature of humanity. The seconds ticked by like hours as the clash of their bodies reverberated throughout the hall. Alex was quick, but Korik's size and power were overwhelming. Alex needed to survive. He needed a way to strike back. And then it happened. Korik, in a rare lapse of concentration, left himself open. Just for a split second, Alex's instincts kicked in. He seized the opportunity with the precision of someone who had nothing left to lose. He darted forward, dodging another crushing blow and using his momentum to land a perfect strike on Korik's side. A small blow, but one that landed exactly where it would hurt the most. Korik howled in anger, his face contorting with rage. He swung wildly, but Alex was already gone, retreating and keeping just out of reach. It wasn't about brute force anymore. It was about outlasting his opponent. Every movement, every breath, every second counted. Then, with a vicious growl, Korik struck again, but this time, Alex was ready. He ducked under the swing, twisting his body and landing a swift kick to the general's lower abdomen. Korik stumbled. For the first time, Alex saw something shift in the Thraxi general's eyes. It wasn't just anger now. There was uncertainty, a flicker of doubt. And for the first time, Alex Winters saw the crack in the armor. As Korik recovered, Alex felt it, an opening, just the slightest weakness. He could feel it, like the force of a star pressing against his chest. If he could just hold on a little longer, the tide would turn. But then came the slap. It was swift, brutal, and unexpected. The force of it sent Alex's head snapping to the side. His ears rang, his vision blurred for a second. He stumbled, caught off guard by the sheer power of the blow. The room went silent, all eyes now on him. But Alex Winters wasn't finished. The slap would be his turning point. The slap echoed through the room, a resounding crack that left the air thick with tension. Alex's vision blurred for a moment, his head spinning, but his body instinctively steadied itself. His hand shot up to his face, the stinging sensation still sharp against the skin. He tasted the metallic tang of blood in his mouth. The room held its collective breath as Alex straightened up. The slap had been a warning, a reminder of Korik's dominance. But Alex's eyes burned with the intensity of a fire that refused to go out. He could feel the sweat pouring down his neck, the muscles in his arms trembling from the sheer strain of holding his ground. But he wouldn't fall. He couldn't. Korik stood tall, a dark shadow of fury, his chest heaving with heavy breaths. His crimson eyes gleamed, not with anger alone, but with something darker, contempt. To him, Alex was nothing more than an insect, a creature that had dared to defy his will. You'll regret that, Korik growled, stepping forward with menacing intent. Humans think they can fight, think they can win. You're nothing but a child in a world that's far too dangerous for you. Alex gritted his teeth, swallowing down the fear that threatened to rise up. Every muscle in his body screamed for him to run, to escape this overwhelming force, but he held firm. His hands clenched into fists again, his knuckles white. "I'm not afraid of you," Alex spat, his voice hoarse but full of conviction. "I'm human. I don't give up." The cadets in the stands shifted uncomfortably, sensing the shift in the air. They had been expecting Alex to break under the weight of Coric's force. They had all seen it before, the arrogance, the underestimation of human resilience. But there was something different in Alex's eyes now, something that made them hold their breath, waiting for what would come next. Coric's grin widened, his nostrils flaring. "We'll see how long that lasts." Without warning, the general lunged again, faster than before. His fist came at Alex like a sledgehammer, a crushing blow meant to end it all in one motion. Alex barely had time to react, the sheer force of the punch making the ground beneath his feet shake. His instincts screamed at him to dodge, but it was too late. Coric's fist connected with his chest, sending a shockwave of pain through Alex's body. The air was knocked from his lungs, and for a split second, everything went black. He collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath, his body sprawled in the dirt of the training arena. A wave of laughter rippled through the onlookers, the Thraxi cadets, and the other aliens in the stands basking in the triumph of their general's dominance. Alex was a mere speck in their galaxy of stars, a fragile human who had dared to challenge something far greater than him. But even as the pain racked his body, Alex's mind was clear. He could hear the voices around him, but he wasn't listening. Instead, he was focused on the small, fleeting moment of weakness he had seen in Coric's eyes, just before the slap, just before he had hit him with all his might. Alex's eyes narrowed as he pulled himself up, feeling the ache in his chest and the burning in his legs. He could barely breathe, but he wasn't going to let this go. This wasn't just about winning a duel. This was about proving humanity's place in the stars. "You want me to break?" Alex coughed, wiping blood from his lip. "Then you're going to be waiting a long time." He staggered to his feet, his body unsteady but resolute. The crowd fell silent, the energy in the room shifting once again. Coric's face twisted in disbelief. No human had ever withstood the force of his attack like this. No human had ever dared to challenge his strength and survive. And yet here was Alex Winters standing in front of him, his resolve unwavering. For the first time since their confrontation began, Coric hesitated. Alex didn't waste the opportunity. He lunged forward, closing the distance between them. The move was wild, desperate even, but it was calculated. Every instinct told him that he had only one chance to exploit this opening before Coric regained his footing. His right fist shot out, aimed not for Coric's head, but for his midsection, where Alex knew the general's defenses were weakest. The punch landed with a sickening thud. Coric's eyes widened, a grunt of pain escaping his lips. His entire body jerked back, momentarily thrown off balance. The blow hadn't been strong enough to take him down, but it had shaken him. And that was enough. The Thraxi general's rage flared once again, and he charged forward, his fury a tidal wave. But Alex wasn't finished. He sidestepped, barely avoiding the general's wild swings. He needed more than speed and strength to win this fight. He needed Coric to underestimate him just a little longer. The cadets watched in stunned silence, the unexpected turn of events leaving them breathless. Alex had found his rhythm, and now, with every passing second, the odds were starting to shift. Coric's fury was palpable, but it was no longer enough to guarantee victory. The general's overconfidence was starting to turn against him. The longer he fought, the more Alex could see the cracks in his opponent's facade. And that was when Alex realized it. The true battle wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about perseverance, about never giving up, even when the odds were stacked against you. "Is that all you've got?" Alex taunted, his breath ragged but defiant. Coric snarled, a low growl building in his throat. The general was no longer laughing. The moment had passed. The challenge had been accepted. And now, the Thraxi general's true struggle had begun. And then, just as Coric was about to strike once more, Alex saw it, the opening. The air in the training arena was thick with tension. Every breath Alex took felt like a struggle, his chest aching with each inhale. Sweat drenched his brow, stinging his eyes. His body was bruised, every muscle screaming for rest, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. He had done the impossible. He had taken the fight to Korik. And now, as the Thraxi general's fury surged, Alex could feel something changing, something shifting deep within him. For a moment, time seemed to slow as Korik lunged at him again, his massive fist cutting through the air. Alex was ready this time. He sidestepped with the grace of someone who had spent years dodging threats, narrowly avoiding the general's attack. But as he moved, something unexpected happened. A sharp pain shot through his side, not from Korik's attack, but from within himself. Alex's vision blurred for a split second, and he staggered, his right knee buckling under him. He gasped for air, clutching his side. The pain wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, something he couldn't place. Korik, sensing the vulnerability, closed in with terrifying speed. His hand shot forward, grabbing Alex by the throat, lifting him off the ground with an ease that made Alex's heart race. The pressure around his neck cut off his air supply, and for a moment, Alex's vision swam. The world around him seemed to tilt, and everything felt distant. But then, as if on instinct, Alex's thoughts flashed back to his training. He had been taught to survive, no matter the cost. The words of his mentor echoed in his mind. When you think you're done, when you think there's no hope, there's always one more move you haven't thought of. Keep fighting. Always. And then it hit him. The pain in his side wasn't just from the bruises or the strikes Korik had landed on him. It was something deeper, something connected to the strange energy he had felt surging inside him ever since the first blow was struck. His heart pounded, not in fear but in something else. It was as if a switch had been flipped, a dormant power awakening within him. The crowd was silent now, watching as the two combatants struggled. The Thraxi cadets, the alien dignitaries in the stands, everyone was still. And for a fleeting moment, Alex felt the weight of their eyes, not as spectators, but as silent witnesses to something that was about to change everything. Korik's hand tightened around his throat, and Alex's fingers clawed at the iron grip, gasping for air. But just as he thought he would black out, the power inside him surged again. This time it was different. It wasn't just a desperate, instinctual push. It was a controlled, focused energy, raw and untamed. With a burst of strength, Alex's legs kicked forward, slamming into Korik's chest. The impact sent the Thraxi general stumbling back, his grip loosening just enough for Alex to gasp for breath. But that wasn't enough. Alex wasn't done yet. His mind was racing now, calculating every movement, every possible outcome. He could feel it. This strange power inside him wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just adrenaline or fear. Something deeper was at play, something far beyond his understanding. He could almost hear a voice inside him, urging him on, telling him to push further, to do the impossible. And then, as the crowd held its breath, Alex did the unthinkable. He rose from the ground, his legs trembling beneath him. His hands shook, but his grip on his own body tightened. There was no time to question it. He didn't have the luxury of doubt. In a split second, Alex's body reacted with a force he had never felt before. He reached up, catching Korik's massive wrist in midair, halting the general's neck strike. It wasn't strength that did it, though. It was something far more subtle. It was control. With a roar, Alex twisted Korik's arm, flipping the general's massive form to the ground in a move that took the entire arena by surprise. The audience gasped, their eyes wide with disbelief. Korik, stunned, scrambled to his feet, his eyes blazing with rage. He was visibly shaken now, his confidence wavering. What was that? Korik growled, his voice now filled with something akin to fear. Alex stood there, his body bruised and battered, but his eyes alight with a fire that had never been there before. That, Alex said, his voice low but firm, was just the beginning. But Korik wasn't done. He lunged again, fury burning in his eyes, his body moving with an intensity that could level a building. This time, Alex didn't dodge. Instead, he embraced the fight, letting that strange power inside him guide his every movement. As Korik swung with all his might, Alex met him head-on, dodging the blow at the last second and using Korik's momentum against him. The Thraxi general collided with the ground with a deafening crash, his own force turning against him. Alex stood over him, his heart pounding not with fear, but with something else, something alien, yet familiar. The entire arena was still, the silence suffocating. No one moved, no one spoke. They were all waiting, watching to see how this human cadet had managed to defy all logic, all reason. Korik, his chest heaving with the effort, looked up at Alex with a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect. For the first time in this fight, the general wasn't sure who would come out on top. "Impossible," Korik muttered, his voice thick with contempt but tinged with something else. "How are you doing this?" Alex didn't answer immediately. He just stared down at the alien general, his breathing steady, his mind clear. The moment was his. And then, in a voice that echoed through the arena, Alex spoke again. "You wanted to see what a human could do? Well, here it is." The power inside him had only just begun to reveal itself. The real test was yet to come, and Alex was ready. The ground beneath Alex felt like it was shifting, as though the very earth was trembling in response to the raw energy coursing through his body. His muscles were aching, his lungs burning, but there was no turning back now. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Everything that had led him to this moment, the endless training, the humiliation, the uncertainty, had culminated in this singular clash with Korik, the Thraxi general. Korik lay sprawled on the floor, his breath ragged and shallow, a mix of anger and confusion flashing in his eyes. For the first time, he looked vulnerable, and that vulnerability sparked something deep inside Alex. It wasn't just the general's strength that made him formidable. It was his confidence, his overwhelming belief that no one, least of all a human, could defeat him. And Alex had shattered that illusion. But there was no time to bask in victory. The silence in the arena was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the audience, who had been frozen in disbelief at the spectacle unfolding before them. Alex could feel their eyes on him, but he wasn't thinking about them. He was focused entirely on the alien before him, his hands still shaking from the intense fight. Korik slowly pushed himself to his feet, a low growl escaping from his throat. His eyes burned with fury, but there was something else, something darker in his gaze. It was a look of something akin to fear, and Alex knew then that the fight was far from over. If anything, it had only just begun. "You think you've won?" Korik's voice was cold, his tone filled with venom. "You think this changes anything? You're just a human. You cannot possibly understand the power that I possess, the strength of my people. You're nothing." Alex took a step forward, every part of him screaming to fight, to finish what he had started. He had proven something. He had shown that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful forces in the galaxy. But this wasn't just about proving a point. It was about survival. And right now, Korik was more dangerous than ever. Without warning, the Thraxi general lunged at him again, but this time, Alex was ready. He sidestepped, just barely avoiding Korik's grasp, and the massive alien crashed into the arena floor with an earth-shaking impact. The force of the collision sent shockwaves through the stands, rattling the metal supports above them. The crowd gasped collectively, but Alex wasn't watching them. He was focused on Korik, his mind calculating, searching for a weakness, for an opening. He had to end this fight now. He could feel the power inside him, that strange, surging force, ready to be unleashed, but he knew better than to rely on it blindly. He had to be smarter. Korik snarled and scrambled to his feet, his hands glowing with a deadly energy. The general's body began to ripple with muscle, his alien form swelling with power. The air crackled as Korik's eyes blazed with pure hatred. "You are a fool, human. You've awakened something you cannot control," Korik growled, his voice now laced with a palpable malice. "I will break you. I will crush your spirit." Alex's heart raced as the energy in the air shifted, thickening around them like a suffocating fog. He could feel it now, the weight of Korik's power building, coiling like a serpent ready to strike. Korik's every movement was deliberate, calculated. He was preparing to unleash a full-force attack, one that would obliterate Alex with a single blow. But Alex wasn't afraid. He couldn't afford to be. Korik's arms shot forward, a burst of light and energy crackling from his fingertips as he released a massive energy wave aimed directly at Alex. The blast was almost too fast to comprehend, a streak of brilliant light that screamed through the air like a comet. Instinctively, Alex leapt to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast that left a searing trail of destruction where he had stood just a fraction of a second ago. The ground erupted behind him as the energy struck the arena floor, sending chunks of stone and metal flying in all directions. The arena shook with the force of the blast, the crowd's gasps mingling with the sound of the destruction. Alex rolled to his feet and turned just in time to see Korik charging toward him. The general's eyes filled with wrath. The alien was faster than Alex had anticipated. Each movement was like a blur of lethal intent, and Alex barely managed to duck under a devastating strike that would have crushed his skull. As Korik's fist came down again, Alex was ready. He saw the opening, the tiny window of opportunity that would allow him to take control of the fight. Korik's arrogance had made him predictable. His attacks were powerful, but they were too straightforward. The general believed he was untouchable, and that belief was his greatest weakness. Alex's mind raced. He could feel the power inside him again, a surge of heat and light that was almost overwhelming. He had no time to question it, no time to understand it fully. He had to use it, and he had to use it now. With a swift, calculated move, Alex reached out and grabbed Korik's massive arm as it swung down. The general's eyes widened in shock as Alex twisted his arm with the precision of a master. The movement was quick, fluid, and surprisingly effortless, Korik's own momentum working against him. The general let out a strangled roar as he was forced to the ground once again, his massive body crashing into the arena floor with a deafening thud. The impact reverberated through the air, and the audience collectively held their breath. For a moment, Korik lay motionless, the energy in the arena stilling. The general's chest heaved as he struggled to regain his breath, his eyes narrowing as he looked up at Alex. "You're not just a human," Korik muttered, a note of disbelief in his voice. "What are you?" Alex stood over him, chest heaving with exertion, his hands still shaking from the sheer intensity of the battle. He met Korik's gaze, his voice steady but filled with undeniable conviction. "I'm human," Alex said, his words ringing out through the silent arena. "And that's enough." The silence that followed was almost sacred. Korik's heavy breaths echoed off the arena walls. The general's limbs trembled with a strange weakness, a vulnerability he had never known. Around them, hundreds of alien dignitaries, warriors, and commanders leaned forward in their seats, unable to tear their eyes away from the impossible sight. A Thraxi general defeated by a human cadet. Alex didn't move, didn't need to. His stance alone was a declaration. He hadn't just won a fight. He had shattered an empire's belief in its own invincibility. Slowly, Korik pushed himself upright, stopping halfway on his knees. His massive hands curled into fists, then relaxed again. He was breathing heavily, staring at Alex with a gaze that shifted, anger, hatred, confusion, and finally, something else. Fear. No one had ever done this to Korik before. No one had stood against him and emerged victorious. And certainly no human. The old general's mouth worked for a moment, as though he were struggling with words that refused to come. Then, in a voice rough with humiliation, he said something that stunned the crowd into absolute stillness. "I yield." The word struck the arena like a physical blow. Gasps rippled through the stands. Even the assembled council members looked at one another in disbelief. For a Thraxi general to yield to anyone, let alone an unranked human cadet, was unthinkable, an act of ultimate shame. Korik's head dipped, just barely, a concession of defeat. Alex could barely believe it himself. His body was still tense, ready for another attack. But as the realization settled into his bones, he felt the adrenaline slowly ebb away, leaving a strange hollowness in its place. The fight was over. He had won. The voice of Commander Vren broke the spell. By the ancient laws of challenge, the duel is concluded. Vren's amplified voice rang across the arena. The victor is Cadet Alexander Hale of Earth. A sound like distant thunder rolled through the stands, some cheering, some booing, many too stunned to react at all. Alex barely registered any of it. His world had narrowed down to the battered alien still kneeling before him. Korik shifted, rising slowly to his feet. His large hand pressed against his chest in a formal gesture of submission. "You have my respect," he said, the words clearly tasting bitter on his tongue. Alex inclined his head, not with mockery, but with the solemnity the moment demanded. "And you have mine." For a heartbeat, there was something shared between them. Not friendship, not forgiveness, but understanding. Two warriors who had tested each other at the limits of body and soul. Korik turned and stumbled away, limping toward the far side of the arena, where medical personnel waited in tense silence. No one dared speak to him. No one dared mock him. His pride had been wounded enough. As the general disappeared into the shadows, Alex finally allowed himself to breathe fully. The weight of what he had done began to crash down on him. He had just humiliated one of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. There would be consequences. Commander Vren descended from the council platform and approached him, flanked by several high-ranking officers. Their expressions were unreadable, masks of stern authority, but there was something glinting in Vren's eyes that caught Alex's attention: approval. "You did what none of us expected, Cadet Hale," Vren said in a low voice. "You fought with honor, and with something far rarer." He paused, searching for the right word. Conviction. Alex straightened, trying to stay steady as the ache in his muscles became undeniable. "Thank you, sir. You have made many enemies today," Vren continued, a ghost of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "And more allies than you realize." The other officers murmured among themselves, glancing at Alex with new expressions, some wary, some thoughtful, some openly admiring. The hierarchy of the Galactic Alliance was built on strength and courage. And today, Alex had rewritten where humans stood in that hierarchy. A sudden flare of light drew everyone's attention to the center of the arena, where a massive holographic projection shimmered into existence. The official seal of the Galactic Academy, overlaid with a single phrase: commendation, valor beyond measure. The highest honor a cadet could receive. Alex blinked up at it, feeling a rush of conflicting emotions: disbelief, pride, relief, exhaustion. The arena erupted into a confused cacophony. Some aliens cheered, others booed, a few simply sat in stunned silence. No matter how they reacted, one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. As he left the arena floor, Alex's fellow human cadets surged to greet him. His friends, Mira, Dax, even the usually sullen Reese, thumped him on the back, laughing and shouting, their faces shining with pride. "You freaking legend," Dax howled, wrapping him in a rough hug. "You made that walking wall beg." Mira grinned, tears sparkling in her eyes. "You showed them what we're made of." Reese just nodded, a rare smile touching his lips. "About time." Alex let himself laugh, the sound raw but real. In that moment, surrounded by his comrades, he didn't feel like just one lucky cadet who had survived a freak duel. He felt like a representative of something far bigger: humanity. And for the first time, he realized they weren't just participants in the Galactic Alliance anymore. They were contenders. Vren approached once more, his expression sober. "Cadet Hale," he said, "there will be repercussions. Enemies who won't forget this. Threats. Tests. You must be ready." Alex squared his shoulders, the fire in his chest reigniting. "I am, sir." The commander nodded once, crisply. "Then prepare yourself. Humanity's true trial is just beginning." The Galactic Academy's skyline gleamed under the twin suns, glass spires cutting into the blue-violet sky like blades. Beneath them, The world was stirring. Word of Alex's victory spread faster than wildfire. In the hours after the duel, official channels issued carefully worded statements about an unprecedented challenge event and commendable conduct by Cadet Hail of Earth. Unofficial channels, however, exploded with chatter. Hollow feeds, underground forums, backroom council meetings, all buzzed with variations of the same rumor. The humans had arrived. Alex wandered through the academy grounds, his uniform patched where Coric's blows had torn it. The medal for valor beyond measure hung heavy at his side, a fresh addition that felt surreal even to him. Passing aliens of every kind stared openly. Some nodded stiffly, some scowled, some quickly looked away. Every stare, every whisper was a reminder. He was now a symbol, a lightning rod, and not everyone was happy about it. That evening, in a quiet courtyard overlooking the training fields, Alex found Mira waiting for him. She sat perched on a stone bench, boots dangling, watching the cadets sparring below. "You're famous now," she said as he sat beside her. "Yeah," Alex muttered. "Feels weird. Weird good. Or weird everyone wants to kill you." He snorted. "Little of both." She smiled, but her eyes were serious. "You shook the foundation today, Alex. You didn't just beat Coric. You cracked the whole myth, the story they tell themselves about humans being weak, expendable, temporary." Alex looked out over the fields. Young cadets of a dozen species trained together. But he noticed it now. More humans stepping up into leadership roles, more aliens treating them with a wary new respect. "I didn't think it would matter this much," he said. "It does," Mira said. She nudged him gently. "You did more than win a fight. You gave humanity a future here." Alex sat with that for a moment. It was a heavy thought and an exhilarating one. A low chime interrupted them. His personal calm lit up with a summons. The council wanted to see him. He exchanged a glance with Mira. "Good luck," she said. He gave her a lopsided grin. "Luck's been weird today. Might as well keep riding it." The council chambers were vast and cold, lit by soft white orbs suspended in the air. Seated on curved tiers were representatives of the most powerful species in the Alliance. Some wore elaborate robes, others gleaming armor, but all exuded the quiet authority of those used to commanding entire worlds. Commander Vren stood near the center, a silent guardian. Alex was led forward to the focus point, under the weight of 1,000 calculating eyes. High Chancellor Veldrix, a willowy alien with translucent skin, leaned forward. "Cadet Hale," Veldrix began, voice smooth and unreadable. "You have upset certain expectations." Alex kept his stance neutral. "Yes, Chancellor. Many see your actions as a threat. Others as an opportunity." A low murmur ran through the assembly. Veldrix steepled his fingers. "We find ourselves at a crossroads. The human species has been seen as second-class citizens, valuable yet replaceable. Your victory challenges that narrative." Alex waited, tension knotting his stomach. "Thus," Veldrix continued, "we present you with a choice." He gestured, and a hologram flickered into existence beside him. A human flag, the Earth insignia shining bright, hovering above a strange, new emblem, a star entwined with a shield. "You may accept the commission," Veldrix said, "not merely as an officer, but as the first human member of the Intergalactic Vanguard." Gasps echoed through the hall. The Vanguard was legendary, an elite force answering only to the highest levels of the Alliance, tasked with dangerous, world-altering missions. No human had ever even been considered. "You would represent Earth," Veldrix said, "and you would bear the consequences of success or failure." Alex's mouth went dry. Vren stepped forward. "It's not just an honor. It's a war. There will be those who sabotage you, target you, challenge everything you stand for." Alex thought of Coric's massive form crumpling to the sand, thought of Myra's proud smile, thought of all the sneers and dismissals he had suffered to get here. He lifted his chin. "I accept." The silence was immediate and electric. A moment later, the Chancellor inclined his head. "So be it." The hologram shifted. New data flooded in, orders, missions, assignments. A new life unfolding before his eyes. Later that night, Standing alone at the edge of the training fields, Alex looked up at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, so small in the endless dark. And yet, tonight, humanity had taken a giant step into that darkness. The wind stirred the grass at his feet. Somewhere in the academy, a bell chimed the new hour. Behind him, footsteps approached. He didn't have a turn to know who it was. "You sure about this?" Mira asked softly. He smiled without looking away from the stars. "I'm sure." She stood beside him, and for a long time, they just watched the sky. Above them, the stars burned bright. And among them, humanity's flame had only just begun to rise. End of story.